All right, Roman Britain. You know when someone says Roman Empire,
Mm-hmm.
it's all gladiators and Colosseum, right? Maybe a Caesar salad.
Mm-hmm.
But they were a lot bigger than just Italy. I mean, they even made it all the way to Britain.
Yeah, to those like misty shores of Britain. It's kind of crazy to think about. For centuries, a big chunk of Britain was ruled by Rome.
And it wasn't just like a quick trip, right? We're talking real interaction, conflict, culture clashes. It definitely changed Britain.
Oh, absolutely. It left a mark, that's for sure.
And, our listeners, they sent in a ton of stuff for these histories, archaeology, even some cool old coins. Clearly, everyone is ready to go deep on this, so let's get into it.
Definitely. We can look at why Rome even wanted this barbarian island, as they called it. What was it like for the Britons living under Roman rule? Did they like it? Did they fight back? And how did it all end? Lots to uncover.
Before we get to the invasion, though, let's set the scene. Britain before the Romans.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a bunch of, uncivilized tribes roaming around.
Right. No, not at all. Britain had all these different Celtic tribes, each with their own ways of doing things. They were farmers, metal workers, traders, connected to Europe already.
We even have coins from way before the Romans, minted by kings like Cunobelin with their faces on them.
That's so cool. Shows they knew economics, symbolism, not just barbarians like Rome labeled them. These were complex societies.
And speaking of Rome, their first trip to Britain wasn't exactly a conquest, was it? More like dipping their toes in.
Exactly. Julius Caesar, 55 and 54 BC, two expeditions, more about prestige and intel than taking over. They were curious about Britain, the resources, but also wary of the warriors and, of course, the Druids.
Mysterious druids.
Totally shrouded in mystery.
So Britain was this tempting target, but also kind of dangerous. They even called it the womb of tyrants, almost like they knew it'd be trouble.
Yeah, they saw Britain as valuable, all those minerals, tin, lead, plus it was strategic for trade. And for an emperor wanting to prove himself, conquering Britain, instant legacy.
Cue Claudius, the emperor needing a win. He saw his chance when a British king asked for Roman help against his rivals. Oops.
Talk about a perfect excuse. Internal struggles, external forces taking advantage. Classic. Of course, Rome also wanted those resources and the location.
So 43 AD, Roman legions land at Richborough, straight for Camulodunum, that's Colchester today of Addles, and a big victory celebration for Claudius. A little too perfectly staged, if you ask me.
All about the propaganda. Even empires need good PR, right?
Claudius wanted to look good back in Rome, so yeah, big stage spectacle. History is written by the victors and all that.
Now, for the Britons, the impact was mixed. Some tribes saw Rome's power and decided, hey, let's work with them. Roman lifestyle, villas, baths, trade. Not bad.
Trading their rough clothes for togas and getting a taste for wine, I bet.
Exactly. But other tribes, resistance was the only way. They fought hard for their land, their way of life, guerrilla warfare, raids. Caratacus, for example, gave Rome a real headache in Wales.
So not an easy takeover for Rome. Lots of pushback, lots of fighting spirit from the Britons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, very much so. The conquest was long, bloody, and far from over. In fact, one of the most dramatic parts was about to start the Boudiccan Revolt, led by a queen who gave those Romans a run for their money. Welcome back, Roman Britain. Remember, things were heating up, those early clashes, some tribes resisting.
Yeah, but let's talk about resistance. I mean, Queen Boudica, she was hardcore.
Boudica, oh yeah, what a story. So much courage, determination, but also tragedy, It shows just how brutal Rome could be and how far people would go to fight back.
This woman almost brought Rome down. Burned Londinium, that's London today, to the ground. Serious warrior queen energy.
Right, but there's a reason for all that anger. She was the Iceni queen, and after her husband died, Rome just took over, ignored their agreements, they flogged her, even assaulted her daughters.
That's awful. No wonder she was furious.
It was personal, but also bigger than that. This was about freedom, dignity for her people.
So she brought together the Iceni and others who were fed up, and they hit back hard at Roman settlements.
Oh, they were relentless. Camulodunum, Londinium, Verulamium, all destroyed, burned. Rome was shocked. They definitely underestimated the Britons.
Seeing all that, the sheer force of it, must have been terrifying for the Romans.
They had to scramble to respond, get the legions together, figure out how to deal with this.
Which brings us to the Battle of Watling Street. Turning point, right?
Big time. Likely somewhere in the Midlands, we're not exactly sure where, but it was two very different ways of fighting. Rome, all disciplined, tight formations, good weapons. Boudica's forces relying on numbers, ferocity, knowing the land.
Had to be brutal.
It was a Roman victory, but a costly one. Tacitus, he says tens of thousands of Britons died. Romans, not so many. A crushing defeat for the rebellion. Basically the end for Boudica.
Tragic ending for her, fighting for her people like that. But she's remembered,
Yeah,
a symbol of defiance against Rome.
definitely. The Boudican revolt shows that Roman conquest wasn't easy. They faced real resistance, the Britons weren't pushovers, and it shows that Rome could make mistakes, be arrogant, not understand the people they were ruling.
Yeah, like they didn't learn from those early clashes how fiercely the Britons would defend their land.
Right. Boudicca was a wake-up call. So after that, they changed their strategy, right? More about control, bringing Britain into the Roman world fully.
Romanization, let's talk about that. What does that even mean? Were they forced to become Roman, or was it more of a mix?
It was complicated. They brought in Roman laws, administration, Latin, built all these roads, forts, cities, changing the landscape of Britain.
I would bet they built some fancy villas, too.
Oh, yeah. Those elite Britons, they were into it. Roman stuff was the new cool thing, villas, mosaics, baths. If you were on top, life was good.
Must have been nice. But what about everyone else, the regular folks? How'd Romanization affect them?
For most Britons, it was mixed. Still farming, doing their crafts, speaking their languages. But Roman stuff crept in.
So like a slow blend of the two.
Yeah, you start seeing Roman pottery, glass, metalware in their homes, Roman coins that meant more trade, new farming methods, crops. Little by little, it changed things.
So some good came from it, in terms of stuff, trade, technology.
Sure, but there were downsides too. Roman taxes, heavy ones, grain, livestock, labor. And they took young men for the army, sent them all over the empire.
That's rough. New stuff is cool, but being forced to fight for the empire that conquered you, not so much.
Exactly. And Roman officials, well, some were corrupt, unfair. Tacitus talks about that, the greed, the exploitation. It wasn't a perfect system.
So Romanization was a double-edged sword. Progress, but also problems. And it's during this time that we meet another key figure, Gnaeus Julius Agricola. He was a general administrator sent to solidify Roman control, but also to push further north into Caledonia, the land that Rome hadn't yet tamed. So we've got Roman Britain, kind of a mix and match of cultures, but then there's this whole area up north, Caledonia, and that's where things get interesting.
Agricola shows up in 77 AD and things change. He wasn't about keeping things as they were. He wanted the whole island, even those tough Caledonian tribes, under Roman rule.
Caledonia, it's not exactly known for, like, fancy Roman stuff, is it? What do they even want with it?
Well, controlling it meant a secure northern border. No more raids and rebellions. Plus, Rome liked to conquer, right? Leaving Caledonia unconquered was like an itch they couldn't scratch.
So Agricola is going to tame this wild north, all mountains and forests, and those Caledonian warriors everyone's heard of.
And these weren't like the southern tribes. They knew how to fight in that tough terrain. Guerrilla warfare, hit and run, ambushes, tough opponents.
Rome liked their open battles, formations, all that. This must have been a real pain for them.
Oh, it challenged them, for sure. Agricola had to change things up, couldn't just bulldoze his way through. He needed cunning, strategy, adapting to the land.
So did he, like, ditch the legions and fight like the Caledonians?
Not quite. He still had the army, but used smaller, faster units, good at scouting, reacting quickly. He went for key locations, built forts, camps, controlled the supply lines, that kind of thing.
Ah, those Romans and their forts. Little bits of Rome everywhere they went.
Those forts were important, safe places for troops, launching points for attacks, and a show of force, you know? Rome's here.
But I bet the Caledonians didn't just sit back and watch. They kept pushing back, right?
All the time. Skirmishes, raids, ambushes. The Ninth Legion, they almost got wiped out in a night attack. Even Rome's best could get caught off guard.
Agricola, though, he really wanted all of Caledonia. And that leads to the Battle of Mons Graupius. Sounds epic.
It was a big one. 83 or 84 AD, a clash of two totally different worlds. Romans versus the fierce Caledonians. We're not sure exactly where it was. Maybe somewhere in northeastern Scotland, near those big mountains.
So how'd it go? Was it a Roman stomp? Or did the Caledonians give them a run for their money?
Tacitus says it was intense. 30,000 Caledonians charging down swords, spears, shields. They fought bravely, but Rome's discipline and tactics won out in the end.
Another victory. So that's it, right? Caledonia belongs to Rome.
You'd think so, but here's the thing. Agricola gets called back to Rome by the Emperor Domitian, and they basically leave Caledonia alone after that.
Seriously. All that fighting, and then they just leave.
It seems weird, but for Rome, Caledonia wasn't really worth it. Too remote, not enough resources, hard to control. What's the point?
So Agricola's big plan gets shut down by Roman politics.
Yeah, pretty much. Even a huge empire like Rome, they had their own issues, internal struggles, changing priorities.
Wow, what a story. Roman Britain, it's more than just togas and conquering, isn't it?
So much more. We've seen Rome at its best and worst, the military power, but also the brutality, and the Britons fighting back, trying to hold on to who they were.
I hope our listeners got a sense of that, how complex Roman Britain was. It wasn't just about dates and battles. It was about real people, choices, struggles.
Definitely. And if this deep dive has you wanting more, there's tons out there. Books, documentaries, even go visit some Roman sites. You might even find a Roman coin in your backyard, who knows?
That'd be cool. Thanks for joining us on this journey through Roman Britain. Don't forget to subscribe. We got more deep dives coming your way. See you next time.